Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Roseville City Council meeting of March 19th, 2025. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask our clerk to please read the roll.
Thank you. We'll start with Vice Mayor Alvord.
Here.
Councilmember Haldeshelt.
Here.
Councilmember Mendoza.
Here.
Councilmember Rakucci.
Here.
And Mayor Bernasconi.
Here. Thank you. I'd like to ask our city manager, who is celebrating a birthday this evening, Don Casey, if he would please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Happy to, Mayor. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Carmen, would you please announce the meeting procedures?
Yes, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and on behalf of the City Council, we'd like to welcome you to the City of Roseville City Council meeting. Agendas are available at the end of the staff table to your right or online on our city's website. All comments from the public should be directed to the City Council and not to any staff members or the audience. All speakers must speak from the podium as this meeting is being recorded tonight. For items not appearing on the agenda, members of the public may address the City Council regarding any item that is not listed on the agenda tonight and within the subject matter jurisdiction of our City Council. Public comment is limited to 25 minutes, and each speaker will have 3 minutes to express their comments. If the time limitation is reached in the first segment, individuals will have a second opportunity for public comment at the end of the meeting just prior to council comments. The Brown Act does prohibit our City Council from discussing, debating, or taking action on items that are not listed on the agenda tonight. For those items that are appearing on the agenda, the Brown Act does allow for the public to comment on all items listed on tonight's agenda. Speakers will have 5 minutes to provide input that should be relevant to the item that is being discussed and considered. Time will be monitored, and once the red light begins to blink at the podium, we request that the speaker please conclude their comments. The City Council encourages public participation and requests that you please be courteous during the meeting. Lastly, if addressing the City Council tonight, please consider stating your name for the record. With that, welcome to the City of Roseville.
Thank you for that. We have 2 presentations this evening. We are going to start with the first one, which is a retirement of Art Vauchlin. And Art, if you want to meet me down at the podium.
Oh.
All right.
Okay, these are always exciting and fun to do. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll all take turns reading parts of your resolution. So a few things about Art. On December 21st, 2006, Art joined the City of Roseville, bringing dedication, leadership, and technical experience to the organization. Throughout Art's distinguished 18-year career, he served in key leadership roles, including public safety systems manager, IT program manager, and assistant IT director, overseeing technology infrastructure operations, citywide application support, and technology support services.
Whereas Art demonstrated outstanding leadership in times of crisis, spearheading major initiatives such as the city's COVID-19 technology response in 2020, the October Surprise Network response in 2018, and the EOC cyber exercise in 2015, as well as providing rapid response during the 2024 CrowdStrike network incident. And
whereas Art has been widely recognized for his exceptional contributions, earning numerous awards, including the prestigious Pride of Roseville, Outstanding Work Performance in 2023, Innovation Top Team Awards in 2018 and 19, IT Manager of the Year in 2012, 14, and 18, and the IT Outstanding Service Award in 2011. And
whereas Art furthered his professional development and leadership within the organization, gradually graduating from Leadership Roseville in 2022 and achieving the Certified Government Chief Information Officer status in 2021. And Art's colleagues recognized not only his technical and managerial acumen, but also his unique personality and contributions to workplace culture, bestowing upon him the memorable title of IT's most interesting person alive in 2021. And
Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Roseville, California, that Art Vauchlin be commended for his 18 years of outstanding service and dedication to the City of Roseville and the Information Technology Department, congratulate him for his many accomplishments and wish him a long, healthy, and enjoyable retirement.
Yes. Congratulations to you and your family. It's an exciting time. If you want to take a few moments, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you,
Okay.
Mayor. Well, this is great. Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor Bernasconi, Vice Mayor Alvord, City Council members, City Manager, department heads, and business partners. It has been an incredible honor to serve the city for over 18 years of my 42-year technology career, and I wish I could see. I've had the privilege of working alongside every city department to implement and support technology solutions. Because we work shoulder to shoulder, improving business operations, my team and I deeply understand the why and how each department serves our citizens. This collaboration has been invaluable in driving smart decisions and fostering cooperation across the city. I've overseen our technology infrastructure, including networks and cybersecurity, and have led our business technology support teams serving public safety, utilities, and general government. Our work extends beyond departments. We collaborate with vendors, internal support teams like legal and purchasing, cross-functional subject matter experts, and the Technology Governance Committee to ensure technology aligns with City Council's strategic goals. As I step away, I also leave my roles on the city's Legislative Committee and as co-chair of the MISAC Legislative Committee. I'm grateful for the City Council's support of legislative advocacy, which has strengthened Roseville and benefited the 340 municipalities and special districts that MISAC represents. There will always be technology challenges ahead, and cybersecurity is no exception. With federal funding changes on the horizon, local governments will bear greater costs to maintain critical protections. While this presents obstacles, I have full confidence that our IT team will adapt and continue safeguarding the city with the same dedication and expertise that defines them. The strength of the city lies in its people, the teams that provide exceptional services, and the leadership that drives innovation and excellence. It has been a privilege to be a part of this effort. I want to thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to serve, for the supportive leadership that I've received, and for your continued support of the incredible work this organization does every day. Thank you.
Congratulations, Art. You probably have dinner to head to. Okay, we will move on to our next item, which is 5.2, Sacramento Area Council of Governments Blueprint Project.
Mayor, I might just sort of introduce this item. You know, in addition to serving on the Roseville, community as council members, each of us represents our community on various regional boards and organizations on key issues like solid waste, water, public safety, water, education, land use, and transportation. I appreciate the mayor and the city council reappointing me to the SACOG Board of Directors. It allows me to serve as one of the vice chairs of the SACOG Transportation Committee, which is invaluable to the Placer County Transportation Planning Agency, where Roseville sits in the chair position. Serving on SACOG not only builds working relationships with other electeds in the 6 counties, but we also have the opportunity to learn about and share innovative transportation solutions, such as the program that allows Sierra College students who don't own a vehicle to access education, or microtransit on-demand ideas like Roseville Zero for families and businesses we serve. To develop a complete transportation system that serves Citrus Heights, Sutter County, Placer County, and its cities, as well as Roseville, SACOG develops a long-range transportation and land use plan called the 2025 Blueprint. Working together as elected officials increases the region's chances of securing funding for local needs and the region's collective goals in an increasingly challenging, and I have to underscore that, environment. In the past 2 years, SACOG with PCTPA and El Dorado have successfully developed an equitable funding strategy in response to a federal corrective action. To describe the role SACOG plays in advocating for communities in the region at the state and federal level, we have SACOG's Executive Director, James Corliss, here to talk about the blueprint.
Member Haddishell, Member Bernasconi, members of the council, it's great to be here. Again, James Corliss, Executive Director of SACOG. I'm going to run through a few slides as Councilmember Haddishell just set up. This is really, we're kind of in the final stretch of this long-range plan. One of our primary responsibilities is to look out not just across all 6 counties and 22 cities, but across 25 years, and try to envision what this region is going to be like and how we can knit together all of your general plans, all of your infrastructure needs, right, and then put that together in a plan that meets state and federal mandates, and really importantly is kind of a playbook to then go to the state capitol and U.S. Congress to try to get our projects funded. So next slide. I'm going to run through a few of these, and then I believe we're going to have one of your staff members come up and tell you a little bit about how your work locally fits into our regional efforts. I mentioned 22 cities, 6 counties. That's a pretty big geographic footprint, and one of the many special things about this region and about our board is every single city sits around that table twice a month. Not very many where we can actually accommodate, even fit all those jurisdictions around the table. So next slide. We start our plan with what we call a triple bottom line framework. We are trying to build a vision for the future and investments. Again, starting really at from the bottom up with your general plans and your local priorities, where we're trying to maximize equity, economic prosperity, and environmental sustainability. Next slide. We've done a lot of outreach in this plan. Next slide. Probably more than we have ever done in any other prior plan. We do these plans about every 4 years. So next slide. We've done a number of focus groups, polling, surveys, pop-up. We've been in every county multiple times. And these are the sort of the themes that we have heard through a lot of this outreach, which are sort of distilled here, which interestingly from a transportation plan, actually the first and foremost theme that we heard was housing. Housing. And where are we going to get my kids and my grandchildren be able to afford to live? And are we building enough housing? We know for a fact you're building a lot of it here in the city, and we admire that fact. And in fact, if anything, from a regional perspective, right, I think as you know, and it's been great working with Dom and your team here in the city, one of the things we've got to figure out how to help you do is actually have the jobs, right, to balance that residential growth. And so I just congratulate you on a lot of your successes, including Bosch, and there's more to come. So next slide. Again, just in terms of one of our focus groups, one of the many quotes we heard on housing is here, and it's not lost on us that not only you're building a lot of market rate housing, but you're doing great things with affordable as well, right? You're trying to become a livable place that people really can afford to stay here through multiple generations. Next slide. Just again, sense of the surveys that came back. This is across the 6 counties. The number one challenge that communities region-wide are facing is housing, followed by crime and public safety, by a lack of transportation options at number 3, and traffic congestion at number 4. I think all those things probably resonate for you here in your community. Next slide. So what have we learned through a lot of our analysis? Again, we have to look out across time and across the region and 6 counties. Next slide. One thing that, again, you might be feeling here on a daily basis, we're the fastest growing region in California. As the 2020 census, our metropolitan region was faster than every other metropolitan region in California. That was accelerated through COVID and a lot of in-migration, domestic migration within the state. The green line here is the 6-county SACOG region population projection. So in terms of the rate of growth, we're above the California average, we're above the U.S. average. We will be slowing down due to demographic changes that every industrialized country is experiencing, but we're going to maintain a level of growth and population increase higher than the state and the rest of the U.S. Next slide. What does that look like on the ground? Region-wide, we're a metropolitan region of 2.5 million people. We project we're going to grow to 3.1 by the year 2050. That is the size of metropolitan Denver today. That is also why we took our board to Denver, Colorado last summer to look at the decisions that Denver itself made 20, 25 years ago that actually positively affected its growth. 260,000 more jobs require 278,000 plus or minus housing units. That, by the way, is about 11,000 housing units per year. And as a region, we have been in a deficit of producing that housing. We have just, in the last couple of years, our permits region-wide have just ticked above 10,000. That's been a long time coming, and we've basically been in a deficit. And here's your numbers in the city of Roseville in terms of the numbers on the ground in 2020 and the change coming up that we project over the next 25 years. Next slide. Let's go next slide, because I think we're trying to move this along. And again, next slide. All right, so what does it look like? How do your local efforts and projects and planning efforts fit into this big regional plan across 6 counties? And so we've asked Lauren to come and share a few of those. Thanks.
Good evening, City Council. I'm Lauren Hawker, Senior Planner with the City of Roseville, and I just was here to speak to you on this portion of the presentation, just to tell you that we've been working with SACOG staff, we in planning as well as in engineering, on the development of the current iteration of the blueprint. And part of what they are doing is they are preparing a jurisdiction highlight for jurisdictions in the SACOG region that will go in the final blueprint. So projects that are going to be in those highlights are projects that are sort of regional focused or that are helping to achieve blueprint goals in the city. That includes, so far in the draft, the commercial corridors project, as well as Rapid Link, and some of the things our alternative transportation is doing really well, the electrification of our fleets. The Dry Creek Greenway East Trail construction, and projects like that that are really important for regional connections and for the sustainability of our transit systems and reinvestment in our older areas of the city.
And just to, thank you, Lauren, to add on to that, right, one of the things we're doing differently in this plan we've never done before is we're literally going to have every jurisdiction show up with your local priorities that meet the regional goals. So sometimes I think it feels like, and Dom and I actually had this conversation a couple of years ago, actually at a Placer County event back in DC. It kind of can sometimes feel like this plan is sort of a one-size-fits-all, a one recipe for every jurisdiction. We want to recognize the incredible uniqueness and diversity of our entire region. Every jurisdiction will have the highlights that will all be different, right? So you're all unique. You have different things you're doing locally that contribute to these regional goals. So I just a couple last slides, and I'm happy to answer questions if you go to the next slide. And we're going to go to the next slide, and we're going to go to the next slide, and then, okay, we've got to stop here. We are in the final year of the development of this plan. As Councilmember Hadeshelt said, we'll be releasing a draft for public comment in May, along with a draft EIR for the plan. The idea is we do an EIR on this entire plan, and those projects in the plan that actually meet goals and environmental goals actually don't have to go through their own EIR locally. That was part of the promise of state legislation 18 years ago. And then we're going to look to adopt the final plan, our board, back in this November 2025. So next slide, and next slide. I'm trying to shorten this a little bit. I just want to end on a couple of these, and Councilmember Hadeshelt is a member of what we call our mega region working group, which is the Sacramento region, Northern San Joaquin Valley, and the Bay Area. So one of the things that's happened under COVID is we have a lot of migration back and forth now, people moving here from the Bay Area, but going back and forth. We have companies in the Bay Area that are looking either leave the state or maybe put a footprint here in this region. So we are trying to knit together our Northern California mega region. These are 12 transportation projects, including the third track up to Roseville here, that we advocate for across the entire 16-county Northern California mega region. I love, by the way, that the MLB commissioner was in town for the A's coming to this region a couple of weeks ago, and he left saying, and I quote, "I thought this was a city of 500,000. I realize it's a mega region of 11 million people," right? That's the way that in some ways we have to think about this. And final slide. Here are some of the other priority projects that the SACOG board has endorsed, and this is just a sample of the ones that we will be taking back and hope that you all take back to cap to cap, and whenever you visit your congressional delegation, the Placer Sacramento Gateway are improvements that includes the express bus through Lincoln and Roseville, but also a lot of the I-80 improvements, and importantly, State Route 65 improvement that we actually have that's going to the federal government as a competitive grant program through the BUILD program. I want to just end by saying Corey Peterson is here in the audience from PCTPA. We work very closely, right? The PCTPA plan fits and nests in this plan, just like your general plan does. And the idea here is that this plan will make us more competitive for those state and federal funds. So I also just want to recognize Hannah Schuden from our staff at SACOG here, who has done a lot of our outreach. Happy to answer any questions. Again, really appreciate the engagement of all your staff. It was great to have Lauren come up here and explain that a little bit.
It's 2.5 years in like 5 minutes, so. So can you really just drill down to the why this has to be done?
Well, there's a number of things that we are required to do. We are required to develop a plan by the federal government and the state of California that meets, in many ways, many requirements and mandates. A lot of those around air quality. So we have to show that actually our air quality from a federal level what's called conforms with the Federal Clean Air Act. We've got to show that we're reducing vehicle-related pollutants. The state of California, we've also got to show that we reduce greenhouse gas or carbon emissions from transportation. This plan will do that. Part of the reason, actually, as Councilmember Howdeshell and Mayor Bernasconi, you may remember, we do that not just through transportation, we do it through economic development. So the more housing we can build that's closer to services and jobs, the better. The more jobs that we can get to balance the housing, the better. And in our region that's fast growing, those development patterns are critical to actually achieving those goals. So that's the part of the requirement of doing this. And what we're trying to turn this into is a regional strategy that then you can take your projects and go sell to win those competitive grants at the state and federal level.
Thank you.
Thank you. Does council have any questions? of
Thank
James
you.
Before I open up to public
Thank you
comment?
for your presentation.
It was very good.
Thank you.
You know, and I want to give SACOG and under James' leadership kudos. You know, it does say Sacramento on there. It does say Sacramento area, and beginning in 2023, it was intentional for SACOG to get out to the regions. They started here in April of 2023 with a SACOG board meeting here. Tomorrow, the SACOG board meeting will be in Rockland, and there'll be a bus tour. I don't know if it's,
Yeah.
and
Councilmember, I believe you're going to zip line into the board meeting in Rockland, so.
yeah, playing an
that'll be
air
exciting.
guitar, right, at Quarry Park, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, no, it's been great to move the board meeting around the region. We've had board members that show up in a lot of our jurisdictions, like, wow, I've never been to downtown Yuba City, right? Downtown Yuba City is kind of amazing and a part of the important diversity of the 6 counties.
And Mayor, I'm not going to drag this out very much longer, but one of the first things that I had James do was meet me out on the west side. We were at 747, and showed him, right, the different type of housing types that we have and have built in the city of Roseville. Because until you walk the ground, you may think it's all market rate, single family, big lot development. That's not Roseville. So, you know, you can look down the street, you can look across the street. So anyway, thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, James. I'll open up to public comment. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to this item? You can come forward.
This item.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Laurel Peterson. Good evening, Mayor Bernasconi, council members, and City Manager Casey. I know the majority of you, but I want you to kind of get to know me a little better in 3 minutes. I've been a resident of Roseville for over 10 years, and I'm a single mom to a 20-year-old son. He has intellectual and developmental disabilities. It's better known as IDD, and he's lived with me his entire life. He has severe autism, ADHD, and bipolar, and the mentality similar to a 5-year-old. I'm a member of a local group called Disability Housing Alliance, and this group includes a parent collaboration known as Future for Our Kids, and Alta Regional, California Regional Center, the Sacramento Council for Developmental Disabilities. And what we're trying to do is expand housing opportunities for individuals with IDD. I just turned 62 this month, and I belong to the larger baby boomer generation that is aging. And I understand as I get older, I'll eventually need a caregiver and won't be able to take care of my son indefinitely. So before I pass away, I want to ensure that my son will be taken care of and kept safe. Many aging caregivers like me in this community share the same concerns. We often find ourselves asking ourselves, what will happen to our kids when I'm gone? As a community, we're all concerned about homelessness, which we witness every day around our city. Our young adults with IDD are just one step away from being homeless, experiencing homelessness, when we're no longer able to care for them. So, since they often remain behind closed doors with their parents who take care of them, they become the invisible homeless. Most people are unaware of this imminent situation unless someone with IDD has impacted their lives. There's a growing number of children with IDD transitioning into young adulthood while their caregivers are aging. The situation is quickly turning into a crisis, and we're seeking secure, decent, safe, and affordable housing for our young adults with IDD in this community. Other cities that have created supportive living environments for these adults often have long waiting lists up to 4,000 people. To be honest, I'm surprised and shocked that our amazing city is lagging behind in addressing this important issue. I came today to just raise awareness about this looming problem and ask that you consider providing a safe place for our adults with IDD to live in our community as a part of your future planning for this vibrant city. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. Laurel, I just want to confirm that you were just speaking under public comment and not regarding the SACOG item we just heard.
Oh, no.
Okay.
I wasn't even aware of what was on the agenda.
Okay. Once you got going, I figured that. Okay. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
We'll just pause for just a moment and we'll read the public comment rules.
So for those items that are not appearing on the agenda, members of the public may address the city council by coming up to the podium, and they will be provided with 3 minutes.
I actually thought.
Okay, so now we'll open it up to public comment. Now would be a time for anyone to come forward to address any items that are not on the agenda. So you can come forward.
Good evening. I am also here on behalf of Disability Housing Alliance, and my name is Kim Ziering, and I am here with Laurel, and these are just some of our adult children. We advocate all around the Sacramento area, and we really are advocating for a range of housing options and necessary supports to enable adults with IDD to live in the community of their choice. We represent a large number of families, many of whom are unable to be involved in public meetings because they are needed at home to provide care for their IDD loved one. And in fact, even tonight, Laurel and I were, racing to get here and hoping that our respite worker didn't cancel or was able to show up on time. So we are out there. You just don't see us or hear us as often as we'd like. But I am attending the meeting tonight to comment about the importance and need for affordable housing for adults with IDD, and also to speak in recognition of March being National Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. And it was nice to hear SACOG's presentation, and I hope they'll also get to hear and consider our message. So just a few facts that you may not be aware of. Approximately 80% of adults with IDD live in the family home, many with aging caregivers who worry where their children will live once they're gone. Our local state agency that provides services for individuals with IDD is Alta Regional Center, and probably about 4 years ago, they had an estimated 30,000 consumers, and that number surely has gone up and will continue to go up. In Placer, a majority of Placer's regional center consumers live in Roseville and Rockland. with extremely low income and little ability to pay rent. Adults transitioning out of the family home with IDD have few options for finding or sustaining community-based housing. Housing vouchers are extremely difficult to obtain, not to mention the challenge of finding safe and suitable places to use them. Wait lists for creative, desired housing models are incredibly long or closed. There are currently no dedicated set-aside units for IDD in any affordable housing location in Placer County. There are also no affordable creative housing models for individuals with IDD in the greater Sacramento region, though such models do exist elsewhere around the state. So as I said before, these are some of our children. This is my daughter, Shay. She's 25. This is Laurel's Lance. And some of these individuals, they range in age from their teens into their 40s. And many people in our group, they're well into their 70s. And it's one thing that keeps us up at night wondering, what's going to happen? Where will they live? If you think about the number, when I was looking at the number of Alta consumers, it's about 30,000. That's almost like two Wheatland Toyota Amphitheater stadiums full of individuals, and it's just a lot. So we really hope that you'll consider them and the thousands of other regional center consumers when you're planning housing in the city of Roseville and also in SACOG's greater Sacramento region. Thank you very much for the opportunity to come tonight and comment on this important topic.
Thank you for your comments and bringing this to our attention.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here tonight who would like to make a public comment on any item that's not on the agenda? Now's your time to come forward. Good evening.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and council members and City Manager. I'm Jennifer Chapman from 707 Sunrise Avenue. I will just make an observation. I guess it's more related to the consent calendar, but I didn't see minutes from the hearing and the last City Council meeting on March 5, so maybe you'll mention that when we get to that. But kind of related to that is I just wanted to share some of the written comments that were submitted. They were submitted, at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, so I'm not sure that City Council got to see some of these comments. But
if they were submitted to us, Jennifer, we have all
okay,
read
good.
them.
I'm just going to read some of them because the public didn't necessarily see them. So this is just pertaining to part of this was just people kind of talking about, and again, these comments are by people mostly in their 80s and 90s that live in assisted living at the terraces of Roseville, and they were commenting on the concern about potential delays in emergency medical transport and, just the traffic circulation and, whole situation of the entrance road relative to Sunrise. But one of the things that they were commenting on is why a delay in medical transport could make a difference in their situation. One person said it could prevent brain damage or paralysis if I didn't get treatment in time because of getting to the hospital late due to traffic blockage. It could be very serious. Another person, 85, I'll say the ages, heart failure, it's a delay could be a concern because of heart failure due to time. Another person, 68, said brain aneurysms need to be addressed immediately with no delay. Someone else said, again, 81 years old, sometimes my catheter bag gets full and won't empty properly. I have also been in severe pain from kidney stones. 94-year-old said, I've had a stroke in the past. If I had another stroke, getting the right medicine in time could be crucial. Another person, 92, said basically heart attack, stroke, other medical requirements. And another person just again talking about that they had a possible heart block in the past. And, the range of times that people have had medical transport, and this also varies with how long they've been there, but some of these people had been transported like 5 times in their time at the terraces. So anyway, it's just to paint the picture of what's going on. It's not, when the traffic study says that the traffic is normal or not beyond an expected situation, it's not necessarily maybe looking at this lens related to emergency medical transport. So thank you for the opportunity to share that.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else here tonight who would like to make a public comment on any item not on the agenda? Come forward. Okay, we'll close public comment, and we'll move on to the consent calendar.
Thank you. So on consent, all matters on the consent calendar are considered routine in nature and will be approved by one motion of our city council. There will be no discussion on the consent calendar items unless a member of the city council, staff, or a member of the public requests that a specific item be pulled for further discussion. We did get one request from staff to remove item 7.9 from tonight's consent calendar, that item be moved to the April 16th city council meeting. Other than that, no other request has been made. So at this time, if any member of the public would like to pull an item for further discussion from consent, please come up to the podium and let us know which item.
I guess I wanted a little bit of an opportunity to comment on the hazard mitigation plan, just because, there's.
What number?
7.11.
I'm sorry, 7.1. I was pleased to see that it explicitly, now can I do my comments then at this point?
Not yet.
So it's just pulling that item, okay, all right, thanks.
All right. Seeing, we will be pulling item 7.11 for further discussion, with, again, noting that item 7.9 will be moved to the April 16th city council meeting. With that, if the city council will consider consent calendar items 7.1 through 7.8, 7.10, 7.12 through 7.17. If I may please have a motion to approve?
Move the consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor with a second. We'll start a roll call with Vice Mayor Albert.
Yes.
Councilmember Haudashelt?
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza?
Yes.
Councilmember Rakucci?
Yes.
And Mayor Bernasconi?
Yes.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to item 7.11.
If you want to come forward with your comment?
Great. So thank you for the opportunity. I was just hoping that with this plan, it's a really important plan. Obviously, it's, multi-all-risk hazards, of which we have many different hazards. And I think a lot of this focus is on flood, but there's multi-hazards. The request is to add, I don't know how many of these extra little studies are kind of referenced in there, but one of interest to me was the Kirby Creek Hazard Mitigation Study. The text was saying one Roseville neighborhood in the vicinity of Coloma Way and Trimble Way Zine Court contains the largest remaining cluster of homes, buildings remaining within the FEMA Special Flood Hazard Area. During the last year, Roseville conducted a planning study titled Kirby Creek Hazard Mitigation Study, which corresponds to action items F15 and F24. This study will inform future potential projects to further reduce flood risk in that neighborhood. Both structural and non-structural actions were evaluated, and projects were ranked by cost, benefit, and other factors. And so, that's just an example of a really relevant part of this plan that you're reviewing and just relevant to the public. And that, of course, is the area right behind the terraces. And as I understand it, in the past floods, people were, on roofs, being rescued from roofs and that type of thing. And the other great thing about this plan that I will say is that it does talk about social vulnerability, and it does talk about the population of people over 65 years of age and persons with disabilities, and it, describes those two groups in nice detail. It says people 65 years and older are likely to require financial support, transportation, medical care, assistance with ordinary daily activities, especially during disasters. They are more likely to be vision, hearing, and or mobility impaired, more likely to experience mental impairment or dementia, and more likely to live in assisted living facilities where emergency preparedness is at the discretion of facility operators. Hazard mitigation needs to account for such needs. And on persons with disabilities, it says persons with disabilities or other access and functional needs are more likely to have difficulty responding to a hazard event than the general population. Family, neighbors, and local government are the first level of response. To assist these individuals in coordination of efforts to meet their access and functional needs is paramount to life safety efforts. Emergency managers need to distinguish between functional and medical needs to plan for incidents that require evacuation and sheltering. Knowing the percentage of population with access and functional needs allows emergency management personnel and first responders to anticipate the services needed by that population. So, I just calling your attention, I guess, to those sections. It, relates to the other public comments tonight. And I just, from my experience with this last planning process, there isn't things like there is in air quality planning to focus on sensitive populations of certain types. So, in air quality, respiratory is a big deal. So you focus on, where are the children, where are the elderly. Anyway, this is just great to have that in the plan, and I'm just calling it to your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chapman. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
We have passed the consent calendar.
Yeah.
Good.
Do we
Okay.
want to move this one too?
Yes, so on item 7.11, the Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan 2024 Progress Report, the City Council will consider adopting Resolution Number 25-065, accepting the 2023 City of Roseville Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan 2024 Progress Report. With that, may I please have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor. We'll start a roll call with Vice Mayor Alvord.
Yes.
Councilmember Haudashelt.
Yes.
Councilmember Danza.
Yes.
Councilmember Rakucci. And Mayor Bernasconi.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to item 8.1, Roseville Municipal Code Amendment, Regulation for Fireworks. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Pleasure to be here this evening, hopefully on an item, I'll knock on wood first, that is much less controversial than a number of the other items I've had the pleasure of presenting to the council. Travis Cochran, Senior Deputy City Attorney, and with me co-presenting.
Erin Dunley, Public Affairs and Communications Manager.
And we're here to present and recommend the introduction and first reading of an ordinance making slight amendments to Section 16.16.140 of the Roseville Municipal Code, which pertains to fireworks regulations. So just for a little bit of background, Section 16.16.140 of the Municipal Code regulates the use and possession of fireworks. And as a quick recap, the City of Roseville, generally speaking, allows the use of safe and sane fireworks beginning June 28th through 11:59 p.m., effectively midnight on the 4th of July. This is the only time that fireworks are permitted to be used. And illegal fireworks, like aerial fireworks, are prohibited throughout the year. They may never be used even during the 4th of July holiday. So last year at about this time, Council began considering and then amended Section 16.16.140 to address ongoing issues that we've been experiencing with illegal fireworks, and really cities across the state have been experiencing with illegal fireworks. And the changes that were adopted by council at the time included increasing the fine amounts to $750 for a first violation and $1,000 for any subsequent violations occurring within a 12-month period. Establishing a host liability provision, essentially having hosts be liable for gatherings or other things on their property where illegal fireworks are being used, and then also allowing for recovery of certain law enforcement costs. And I'm going to turn it over to Erin on the next few slides. She's going to talk about some of the public outreach we did last year to get the message to the community on what we were doing and the changes to the ordinance.
Yes, thank you. So I just wanted to take a couple minutes to walk through the public outreach campaign we did last year between the passage of the ordinance and the 4th of July. So the first thing you'll see here is the update to the webpage, which is where we directed traffic back to for subsequent outreach. And if we go to the next slide, you'll see some of the other things we did. These are the mailers. We sent 64,000 direct mail pieces to every household in Roseville. And we also did an overrun of flyers, both in English and Spanish, that were handed out in the community and were available at the fireworks stands for further awareness. We also had our city billboard. We did over 110 social media posts across the police pages, the fire pages, and the city pages, garnering 90,000 impressions. We had a video with police and fire talking about the ordinance as well as safe and sane fireworks. And then right before the 4th, we did a media availability out at the Fire Training Center, which is on the next slide. So you can see some of the media that was generated. We had coverage across multiple broadcast stations as well as local media. We had media come out and watch safe and sane fireworks demonstrations, and we had a live spot on KCRA. And then just additionally, some other outreach we did utilizing city channels. were our hub articles. So for internal communications, we had our city news bureau, and then we were in multiple city newsletters throughout that time period. We did CMS signage throughout the city, and we had over 400 people download My Roseville during that time, showing that the outreach was working. And then post 4th of July, we did a flash vote survey, which had 768 respondents in the Roseville local area, and those respondents verified that social media, the city website and newsletters, direct mail and news media all had strong responses where people were getting their information. So as we look towards this upcoming year, those results, as well as the work that we did last year, will be considered when we're developing this year's outreach plan. And I'll turn it back over to
Thank
Travis.
you. So this slide breaks down some of the statistics for fireworks enforcement conducted last year. So there were 31 total citations issued pertaining to fireworks. 21 were for possession of illegal fireworks, and we had 10 citations issued under the host liability. Whereas, essentially, as I said earlier, it's host allowing gatherings on their property where illegal fireworks are being used. And just for clarification, on many of the citations, there were multiple counts of a violation. So, for example, someone might be in possession of 10 illegal fireworks, and they would be charged with 10 counts of violating Section 16.16.140. And this is why the total number of counts, we had, what is up there, 237 individual counts across those 31 citations for a total fine amount of nearly $230,000. And as you'll see, the vast majority of the citations were issued around the 4th of July holiday. We had one or two that were in the weeks leading up to it. That was one where there was a possession of illegal fireworks and they were being sold here in the city. And our police officers confiscated upwards of 100 illegal fireworks, I believe, from an individual. And then most of them occurring during the 4th of July holiday. We had a few thereafter during the summer that were sort of one-off celebrations, but we did do fireworks enforcement on those. And then we had a few more fireworks-specific citations issued, I believe, in the November timeframe around the Diwali holiday. Next slide, please. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That's the correct slide. Because this was the first year of new fireworks regulations and an increased emphasis on enforcement, staff wasn't entirely sure how the process was going to unfold. One of the unexpected results was that some of the citations were issued with very large fine amounts, upwards of $10,000 to $50,000. And issuing citations with that large of a fine, it makes collection difficult, and it also puts the Board of Appeals in a somewhat precarious position if those citations are appealed, which a lot of times they are because appellants are really trying to do anything to avoid that significant of a fine. And so that made some of the enforcement challenging. So to navigate some of those complexities, staff developed a plea deal arrangement that was offered to a number of individuals that met certain criteria. And these plea deals included reducing the number of accounts being cited in exchange for what we considered essentially as a probation period. So, for example, if a responsible party was charged for 10 counts of using illegal fireworks, staff may have negotiated a plea that included the responsible party acknowledging responsibility for 3 counts and paying that associated fine, so $2,750, but then also agreeing to not violate the fireworks ordinance for the next 3 years, essentially a probationary period. And so if the responsible party paid off their fine amount for the 3 that they acknowledged and stayed out of trouble for the next 3 years, the city would then dismiss those remaining 7 counts that were held in abeyance. So we were essentially able to get on a contractual basis a agreement to comply with the ordinance and not engage in reoffenses in subsequent years. And so we actually had 7 citations that were resolved through these types of plea arrangements. And then we also had 6 citations that were ultimately appealed and dismissed by the Board of Appeals. One of those was due to officer unavailability. On the day of the hearing, we had an officer who actually had to bolt out of the chambers to go deal with a call. So unfortunately, we weren't able to proceed with that appeal hearing. We had One appeal that was granted because of the submission of additional evidence indicated that they weren't the responsible party, so we were happy to dismiss that one. And then the remaining 4 were dismissed primarily because of possible ambiguities within the ordinance, and that's what we're primarily here for tonight, is to sort of close some of those potential enforcement gaps to make sure that we have more consistent and efficient enforcement in the following years. So here's some of the information regarding the fines that were imposed for this past year, taking into account the citations that we resolved through plea arrangements, as well as those that were dismissed by the Board of Appeals. The remaining total fine amounts was just over $108,000. To date, we've collected, I know that says $15,000, but I checked in again this morning, and we're up to about $16,000 in collections so far of the 108 that were issued. And so while we still have $92,000 remaining, roughly $90,000, $14,000 is actually pursuant to ongoing payment plans. So we're actively receiving payment towards those outstanding balances. And then I think it's important to note that the remaining $80,000 is really due to 2 large citations that we had to issue, where we confiscated multiple illegal fireworks. Each of those citations, I think one was close to $50,000 and the other was about $30,000. And we reached out to the responsible parties after we issued those citations in an attempt to try to work out some arrangement, but we never heard anything back. So we will process those through our normal collection system, and they'll eventually be forwarded to the state intercept program if we don't hear from the responsible parties or if payment's not remitted. So that comes down to why are we here and why is further amendment of the fireworks ordinance needed? And so I think staff, we all believe that the first year of our increased enforcement was very positive. It was very successful, although we did observe some challenges along the way, which we knew it was going to happen. There's always some learning curves and challenges you have when you change something so significantly. And one of the things that we recognized is there's just some potential, I'll call them gaps or ambiguities within the current ordinance that we really just want to shore up to make sure that everybody is on the same page, from the person who's reading the ordinance in the public, wondering what it says, to the members of the Board of Appeals who are responsible for hearing the appeals when they come before them, because then they have to, hear interpretations of the law and apply the facts of each individual case to the law. And if you have, inconsistencies or things that aren't clear in the ordinance, that could be challenging at times. So really what we want to do is just resolve some of those possible ambiguities and make sure that is completely shored up. And if we do that, I think in future years, we'll really be able to enforce in just a better, more efficient and consistent manner across the board. And I think we'll have fewer citations ultimately dismissed and just a better enforcement all the way around. So the 3 changes that we are proposing, the first is clarification of the term possession of prohibited fireworks. So the law recognizes 3 types of possession. There is actual possession, there's constructive possession, and there's joint possession. And currently the ordinance just mentions possession, but it doesn't clearly identify each of these 3 things. The drafter's intent was always to include these to cover all the bases. But as we went through the enforcement process, we realized that there was an argument that could be made that really what we were talking about was actual construction, but that was really never the intent. So actual construction is, of course, having the direct physical control of a prohibited firework. I have a firework here in my hands, I am in possession of it. Constructive possession is having control over a firework without actual possession. So if you were standing outside your vehicle and you had a number of illegal fireworks locked in it, you don't have physical in your hands possession, but you have them in your custody and control. They're in your vehicle. And then the joint possession is essentially when 2 or more individuals share actual or constructive possession. And where joint possession often comes up is when nobody wants to take responsibility for things that everybody has. So if officers stopped a vehicle and there was illegal fireworks in the trunk, and they went to talk to the driver and the passenger, and they both looked at the other person and said, they're his, or they're hers, or they're none of ours, theoretically they are in potentially actual and constructive possession, but they're in joint possession. So the officer would be able to cite both of those individuals for violations of the fireworks ordinance. A second proposed change is expanding the concept of host liability to include the street or sidewalk that is immediately adjacent to a host property or any other property where a host is exercising apparent control of the property. So through the enforcement process, we saw the current definition of host liability could be arguably construed as limiting the liability to a property that must be owned by the host, and also that the violation must occur within the four corners of that property. And this was problematic because we encountered a number of situations where individuals would be out on the public sidewalk or the public street in front of their house, also having a gathering, or in some cases, they would know that their neighbor was out of town, so they would take their gathering over into the neighbor's driveway, have their little gathering there, do their illegal fireworks, and then go back off into their house. And just to to the way that the ordinance was originally drafted, it was not entirely clear how to address that issue with respect to is that the host property. So this is really just expanding upon that idea to clearly identify that if you're having your gathering in the public sidewalk or the public street right in front of your house, or if you're exerting control over some other property, that is not going to get you out of getting in trouble. You'll still be liable for that host gathering, and you'll still be liable for any use, discharge, or possession of prohibited fireworks in that circumstance. And then the third change is simply to clarify that each illegal firework constitutes a separate violation of the municipal code. So if you are in possession of 5 fireworks or you discharge 5 illegal fireworks, that equates to 5 separate counts, 5 separate violations of the municipal code. And that was fairly clear for the idea of possession or use of illegal fireworks. But this clarification also makes it clear that that applies to a host as well. Because you're not liable for being the host of a gathering. You are liable for the illegal fireworks that are being discharged at the gathering that you're hosting. So we're just clearing that if there's multiple illegal fireworks being discharged in that gathering, that could be multiple violations of the ordinance. So with that, we're recommending that council introduce first reading an ordinance amending section 16.16.140 of the Roseville Municipal Code regarding regulations for fireworks. And we're both more than happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great, thank you both. We'll start with council questions. Are there any
I
questions?
got a question on your last thing that you just said. If someone brought in illegal fireworks to Tracy's party or his house, but he's the host, and if you came to prosecute, it was my illegal fireworks, but it's at his house. Is it just me that gets, am I the one that gets fined, or because it's at his house, he gets fined too?
It's very fact dependent, so it's situational. And under the host liability provision, the host has to have reasonable, or they have to be reasonably aware of the fact that there's illegal fireworks there. So if Tracy was just having a gathering and had no idea that somebody had brought illegal fireworks, and they found them on you, that's an issue, or that's a situation where the officer more than likely would cite for the possession or the discharge of those fireworks to the person that actually had them, not to the host. Or in the situation where they inadvertently cited the host, that's a subject that would be raised on appeal and figured out then, but that is not the intent. And one of the things that we will be talking about as we do enforcement in the next year, because we learned lots of things as we did it this past year, is the emphasis should be on the possession of illegal fireworks or the discharge. The host liability provisions are there and they're important, but we don't want to rely too much on those just because it's more challenging. And if we are going to cite under the host liability section, we want to make sure that we have very clear evidence that there was a gathering, that the host was aware that there was illegal fireworks being used, and we really want to dot those I's and cross those T's before we issue a citation on that basis.
Thank you.
Can I clarify?
Oh.
Go ahead, it's on the same question.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. So in that case, if the host was liable and someone else was also in possession, would they each get cited?
It's subject to officer's discretion, and so it really just depends on the nature of the circumstances. You could read the ordinance in that manner, but I think most of the officers, and again, it's going to depend on how many fireworks there are, how they're being used, and everything else. If the officer can identify the specific person that has them and is discharging them, and that's separate than the host, I think it's reasonable to conclude that the officer is probably going to cite that individual. The host aspect is really when we have a lot of people and it's impossible to determine who was it that had these. There's just no way to figure out joint possession, actual possession, or constructive possession. And that's where if we can establish there was a gathering and this was the host, then that's the person who's ultimately going to be responsible.
Okay. Tracy?
And this is why I don't invite Pauline and Richard to my parties.
Gonna get you in trouble.
Yeah. I had a few questions on that 79,500 outstanding, the 2 citations. I just want to confirm, so the appeal process is no longer available. That ship has sailed, and there's no available plea deal for those 2 citations. These are
The appeal process, yes, you have 30 days after the issuance of the citation to appeal. I reached out to both of those individuals multiple times. I have not heard back. I am not entirely sure if they've been referred to the collections process or not yet. Usually we send people multiple letters warning them, like, we are about to send you to the State Intercept program. I'm not sure if they have been referred there or not. If they did reach out, we always have the ability to sort of rescind that, and so we could still resolve if there was a reason to do so. We just haven't had any communication with them.
Okay. And then the State Intercept program, refresh my memory, that's like if they win the lottery, come into money or something like that. So we're still essentially, if no plea deal, and obviously the appeal process is now a moot point, so we're 79,500 plus any fees or anything, we could be sitting on that for quite some time if these people don't come into money or make some sort of arrangement. Does that program allow us as a entity or an organization to place a deed of trust against real property or somehow, secure our right to those funds if they move out of the city or just, for some reason are not lucky and don't come into money? I mean, we basically hold this on the books for forever and a day, right?
Yeah, Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that we can do a deed of trust or a lien essentially for unpaid administrative citations.
Okay.
That's correct. And also, it's also for tax refunds too. So we're allowed to renew. So let's say that citee got a $5,000 tax refund this year, that would be paid to us, and then we would renew next year's amount. So it definitely could take multiple years. But yes, we can't put a deed of trust against, well, first of all, not everyone who's got a citation owns real property.
I was making an assumption.
But also,
yeah.
there has to be a causal connection between when you put a lien, a piece of real property, and these kinds of citations, we can't do that for. So our options are limited to like a collection agency, which, that's kind of hard, the State Intercept program. We are looking into other sort of collection mechanisms we can use, but so far the State Intercept program, we're in our 3rd year of the program, seems to be working okay. But you are right, it could be a long time that debt could remain outstanding.
So how does that work? 'Cause I was watching as you went through the ordinance. I didn't see any sort of kicker or escalator. So for something like this on these 2 citations, they're not accruing interest. Principal is principal throughout the whole thing.
They don't accrue
so
interest.
4 years from now, if nothing happens, they don't get a tax refund or whatever, that 79.5 between the 2 remains the same. It's not something. There's no escalators. Okay. Thank you.
Questions over here? We're good?
Answered all my questions.
Just had another clarifying on joint possession. So if you identify a car and there's 2 people that have joint possession, do they each get cited equally, or do they, for the maximum fine, or does the fine get split between those
They are
parties?
each responsible for each individual firework. So if they had 5 illegal fireworks in the car, it's within the officer's discretion, but the appropriate action there would be to cite each of them for 5 violations of the municipal code.
Thanks.
Just a couple comments or questions. I just want to thank you for both of your work on this. I know it added a lot to your plate. It was a heavy lift when you already have a lot going on. I think the communications plans was awesome. I had no idea there was more than 100 social posts. That's great. I would hope that the communications plan would be as or more robust too, to keep the keep the gas, going. Travis, I think this is for you. What's the most successful reporting method? Was it through the My Roseville app? Was it through calling 911 or the non-emergency number? Or do you know?
I believe most successful was 911, and then also just having officers out in the field. They had them strategically located, and honestly, it was a lot of times an officer would go to a call, and they'd turn around and see more illegal fireworks going off down the road, and they would just kind of move along down the line and make another stop. We did have a lot of reporting through My Roseville. Most of that was after the fact, and I was really happy with the amount of responses that we got. And one of the things that we are going to work on this year is educating the public about taking down better information or submitting video or photographic evidence. So there was lots of reports of, there's illegal fireworks going on, and there might be a picture of illegal fireworks, but it's a picture of illegal fireworks, and there's no indication of this is where they're coming from or those sorts of things. So we learned a lot last year with respect to how we receive the information from the public, especially if they want to report after the fact, and we are going to provide some of that information out to the public so they understand this is what we actually need if we're going to move forward with enforcement on these.
That's great, because I think one of the goals was also to keep the calls coming in, alleviating them from the 911 system that night, too. The last question is about outside of the reporting period. Do all of the same parameters apply? It seems like we hear them weeks before, weeks after. You talked about another holiday in December. Does it just work the same way in terms of fines, enforcement?
Yes, the only distinction would be that safe and sane fireworks are only allowed during that period I mentioned during the 4th of July. So outside of that period, no fireworks are permitted. So you could be cited for using safe and sane fireworks if it doesn't fall within that, the 4th of July holiday period.
Okay.
But otherwise, yes, everything would be the same.
All right, great. Okay, we will open it up to public comment. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to address this item? Looks like we have one. Hello, Mr. Roseville.
Good evening, Mayor Bernasconi, members of the council. My name is Dennis Roseville, President of Roseville Communications, appearing on behalf of my client, TNT Fireworks. I just wanted to take a moment to sincerely thank this city council and the city for your leadership and your unwavering commitment to addressing the significant and ongoing issue of illegal fireworks. The city's letter to Governor Newsom supporting a collaborative effort between California and Nevada through a dedicated task force is not only a testament to your dedication to public safety, but also a model of proactive governance that other cities can and should follow. Your efforts to strengthen the Roseville fireworks ordinance, paired with your innovative approach to enforcement, including the concept of social host liability and balanced use of plea deals, demonstrates the genuine commitment to both accountability and fairness. The data shared tonight is a clear reflection of the seriousness with which you approach this issue and your willingness to adapt and refine your policies to achieve meaningful results. Roseville has truly set a standard for cities across California in the fight against illegal fireworks. As a partner in advocating for sensible, safe, and effective fireworks policy statewide, I commend your resolve, your innovation, and your leadership. Thank you for continuing to make Roseville a safe, stronger community and for setting an example that extends far beyond your city boundaries. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments this evening? All right, we'll close public comment. The council doesn't have any other comments or questions. Ask the clerk to read the motion.
Thank you. On item 8.1, the City Council will consider introducing for a first reading ordinance amending Section 16.16.140 of Chapter 16.16 of Title 16 of the Roseville Municipal Code regarding regulations for fireworks. Let me please have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor with a second. We'll start our roll call with Vice Mayor Alford.
Yes.
Councilmember Haldeshell.
Yes.
Councilmember Mendoza.
Yep.
Councilmember Rakucci.
Yes.
And Mayor Bernasconi.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Motion
you.
passes.
Okay, we'll open up for a second public comment. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to address the council on any item that's not on the agenda? Now would be your time. Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment and bring it back to The council and staff, does our city manager, city attorney have any comments this evening?
None, thank you.
No further reports, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Hadashot, you want to start off with any comments?
Tomorrow, SACOG board meeting, that's it.
I don't have anything.
Okay, Councilmember Mendoza?
I don't have anything, because I know Pauline and I talked ahead of time. She's going to cover them all, but I just wanted to say a real quick comment. I know we had a couple storms that came through here last week and on Monday. Monday one was a lot of hail and things. I just want to give a shout out to our utilities and public works. I was out and about, as I'm sure many of us were, and they did a solid job, with a lot of the flooding and just, things that were brought about by that storm. So we always appreciate the work that you do in keeping us safe and things moving the way they should. So just wanted to give you guys all a shout out. So thank you.
And I'll say just a few things briefly, mainly things that I'd even mentioned. I think we all did it. And all the things that we did do were things in Roseville, the enhancements that are occurring in Roseville, and things that we will be enjoying in the future. One is a new park. We had Campus Oaks that was dedicated, and that's in it's Crimson Ridge Park, and it's in Campus Oaks, and that's a 2.2 acres. So that we did that. Right close to it was Fire Station 8 that was officially opened, and a lot of people came out and was able to see the facility, also see what that means for all of the community, because we have the firefighters there. It means area in Roseville is staffed, and it gives better response for all of us in Roseville. And it was just nice to see it opened up, and it's in honor of Tracy Cementi, who was a firefighter here in Roseville. And there's a lot of information about him and the works that he did here in our area. St. Baldrick's, everybody kind of knows about that.
One of us does, yes. One of us does.
Yeah, one of us feels it personally, I still have my hair, so it wasn't me. But again, that is a real good thing. I attended it, and I think what I see out of it, it's been there going on for 18, 20 years, is that all the money that goes to research for children's cancer, and many of the people who are cutting their hair, it was because they've had cancer, family members had cancer, people they work with, their kids had cancer, and so everything that I've seen that people have been doing, it's refers back to Roseville and caring about our community. Again, we had the firefighters' crab dinner, and it was at the grounds. It was very nice. Action-packed, exciting, good crab, lots of people. And again, all their funds go for different needs in our community. So it goes back to our community. I had a committee that I've been on. I'm going to mention just one, Northern California Water Association. They had their annual meeting, and it was in Chico. And the good thing about that is they rotate around. It was just like when they were talking about SACOG, so you get to know the whole areas around us and their water needs. And we had speakers there, Senator Dolly and Assemblyman Hardwick and others who were talking about what's happening in California. But I think what I get out of it is a lot of people are there. There might be a couple hundred, and you get to see their needs and how is it the same or different than what we have. We all need water. It might be a little bit different, but bottom line, we all need water, and we need to work together. And when I go to these functions, that's what I take back. It's the people and how we can work together to make sure that we can have a better California, better Roseville, better Placer County, but better California. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. You covered a lot of ground for us, and just want to say that just want to thank all of you, and I'm appreciative of all of you. I feel like we all work together as a team for all of our committees. I think there are 20-plus committees that we all have to sit on in addition to these meetings. So I feel proud about the work that we do for Roseville. I don't really have anything to add tonight other than we will be back here in a couple weeks for our next meeting, April 2nd, 6 p.m., and I'll adjourn the meeting till then. Thank you.